Would you dare spend the night where footsteps echo in empty hallways and mirrors reflect more than just your face? These aren't just hotels, they read traps for the living and playgrounds for the dead. Here are the 10 most haunted hotels in Western Australia, and the chilling stories they'll never forget. One, Fremantle Prison, YH Fremantle. They say the walls remember. Once a notorious maximum security prison for over 140 years, the Fremantle Prison IAHA now welcomes backpackers and curious tourists, but not everyone who checks in sleeps through the night. A French traveler claimed she woke up gasping, feeling a heavy weight on her chest, though no one was in the room. She fled at dawn, pale and shaken, whispering about a shadow that stood silently at the foot of her bed. In cell block B, strange things happen after dark. He followed the sound, only to find an empty corridor. When he reviewed the CCTV footage, the screen showed static except for one frame. A tall man, dressed in a 19th century prison uniform, staring directly at the camera. Cold spots drift like invisible fog, even in summer. Lights flicker without reason. Doors creak open, slowly, deliberately, as if someone is watching. The staff often laugh it off, but they all know room 213 is ... different. Then there's the story of Jack. A night manager once heard footsteps pacing in the hallway, heavy boots, slow and methodical. No one could explain it, and no one's seen Jack again. But those who stay in that wing, they say they hear him pacing, waiting. 2. The Albany Hotel. Albany. The Albany Hotel has stood for over a century, its grand facade weathered by time, but its secrets untouched. Locals whisper about room 8, a modest corner suite with floral curtains and an old vanity mirror. At first glance, it seems like any other room, until night falls. One evening, a young couple checked in during a road trip down the coast. By midnight, the woman woke up to the sound of humming, soft, melodic, almost lullaby-like. She turned toward the bathroom. The light was on, and in the mirror was someone else. A woman, dressed in a long white gown, stood brushing her hair slowly, her eyes hollow, lost in some other time. Some report the scent of lavender perfume lingering hours after the room has been aired. Others swear they've seen the same woman descending the staircase, her bare feet never touching the floor. When the woman screamed, the figure vanished, but the mirror, it remained fogged, with a handprint pressed against the glass. Staff later revealed it wasn't the first time. In fact, several housekeepers refused to clean room 8 alone. Old hotel logs mention a Miss Eleanor, a long-term guest from 1910 who tragically fell or jumped from the second-story window. Since then, she's been seen again and again, always near room 8. Some say she's waiting for someone. Others believe she never left. 3. The Guildford Hotel, Guildford. After the fire, they rebuilt the walls, but they never got rid of her. The Guildford Hotel, once a proud colonial-era landmark, was ravaged by flames in 2008. The building stood hollow for years until renovations began. That's when the sightings started. Thinking someone was hurt, he followed the sound. But the stairwell was empty, except for the smell, a strong, acrid scent of burnt hair. A construction worker, alone on the upper floor, claimed he heard soft weeping echoing down the staircase. Later, others saw her too, a woman in scorched clothing, her face half-shadowed, gliding silently through the charred corridors. She always appears near the eastern wing, the very place the fire started. And in the men's restroom, one mirror always fogs up around 3 a.m. no matter the weather. Once, a message appeared in the condensation. They leave out a glass of wine every Thursday, the night the fire began. Even now, long after reopening, patrons whisper about strange happenings. Glasses shatter with no one near. Lights flicker violently at closing time. Still here, locals believe the spirit belongs to a barmaid, trapped during the blaze, forgotten in the chaos. Official records don't name her, but some staff call her Rosie. It's said that when the offering is forgotten, the crying returns. Louder, longer. 4. The Rose and Crown Hotel, Guildford, Western Australia. The Rose and Crown is Western Australia's oldest still operating hotel. But age isn't its most haunting feature. Heavy. Guests often report the sensation of being watched. One man, a traveling salesman, woke in the dead of night to the sound of a woman softly singing by the window. He turned on the lamp, no one there, but the old rocking chair beside the window was still moving. Built in 1841, room 24 holds a silence that feels. He found long strands of hair on the pillow beside him. He was traveling alone. They know the legend of Isabel. Some visitors smell faint floral perfume when no one's around. Others hear the creak of footsteps pacing the upstairs hallway, though all the doors are locked. One cleaner once quit on the spot after hearing a voice whisper from inside an empty closet. A young woman said to have waited in room 24 for her fiancé who never returned from sea. Heartbroken, she faded away, alone, forgotten, until her spirit blended with the walls. Later, staff aren't surprised. Today, is he? She is still waiting every night, staring through that same window, watching the road for someone who never arrives. He's not coming back. Locals say Isabel never checked out. And if you listen closely, you might just hear her whisper your name. 5. The Esplanade Hotel, Fremantle. The Esplanade Hotel stands proudly in the heart of Fremantle, elegant, polished, and deeply haunted. Most guests admire its grand staircases and sweeping verandas, but those who stay on level 3 often tell a different story. It began with a former soldier named Thomas, who checked in after returning from World War II. Alone and broken by what he had seen, he never checked out. Guests report their luggage mysteriously moved. Lights click on at exactly 3:10. He heard heavy footsteps pacing inside. Thinking it was a guest, he knocked, and no matter how many times they're turned off, but the window was wide open. And on the desk lay a tarnished war medal, one that hadn't been there hours before. Staff found his body days later in room 310, a bottle of scotch, an old service medal, and a letter no one was allowed to read. Since then, room 310 has gained a reputation. Cold drafts flow from under the door, even in summer. One night, a security guard on patrol paused outside the room. No answer. He used his master key and opened the door to an empty room. Surveillance footage showed nothing unusual, except for a brief flicker of static at 3:10 and what looked like a silhouette saluting. Some say Taunus is still checking the perimeter, still protecting something or waiting for peace he never found in life. 6. The Victoria Hotel, Turier. Turier is a quiet country town, but the Victoria Hotel is anything but quiet after dark. Built in the late 1800s, the hotel has seen floods, fires, and more than a few tragic endings, but one story refuses to fade. They call her Clara, a young maid who once worked on the upper floor. She was bright, kind, always humming as she cleaned the rooms, but one night she vanished. One woman even swore she felt fingers combing through her hair as she slept. When she turned on the light, the room was empty, but the pillow beside her was dented, as if someone had just risen. No goodbye. No trace. Just the sound of her humming, echoing through the hallway long after she was gone. Guests in room 6 often wake up feeling like someone is in the room, sitting at the edge of the bed, brushing against their feet. Locals say Clara was pregnant by the hotel's manager, a scandal in a time when shame was a death sentence. It's believed she took her own life in the servants' quarters, or worse, that someone made sure she disappeared. Today, her humming still returns, always near the top of the stairs, sometimes cheerful, sometimes broken, always closer than you think, and if you're ever alone in the hallway, don't hum back. She might think you're answering her call. 7. The Palace Hotel, Kalgoorlie, gold-built Kalgoorlie. But at the Palace Hotel, it may have also buried something darker. Opened in 1897 during the gold rush, the palace was the crown jewel of the outback, a place where wealthy miners celebrated and secrets festered. Room 21, tucked at the end of the upstairs hallway, looks ordinary, but visitors often leave it after just one night. A backpacker once claimed he was awakened by the sound of coins dropping, metallic, sharp, echoing through the floorboards. When he looked under the bed, he found nothing, but as he stood, the room chilled, the mirror fogged over, and written across the glass were 2 words, "Get out." Legend says a miner named Walter Hennessy died in that very room, poisoned after boasting too loudly about a hidden gold stash. His killer was never found. Some say he still wanders the halls, clutching his final pay and mumbling in a drunken slur. A barmaid once felt a cold breath on her neck while locking up, followed by a whisper. Staff report hearing boots clunking on the staircase when no one's there. It was mine. To this day, room 21 is rarely booked, not because it's unpopular, because no one asks for it, and those who get it don't sleep. 8. The Exchange Hotel, Kalgoorlie. By day, the Exchange Hotel is alive with music, laughter, and clinking glasses. But after midnight, something else stirs. Locals talk about the bathroom mirror in the upstairs lounge, the one that sometimes shows a woman standing behind you, even when you're alone. She's known as the Lady in Red. Always the same, fiery dress, dark curls, no eyes, just 2 empty sockets staring. One bartender, locking up late, caught a glimpse of her in the mirror. He turned, heart racing, but there was no one there. When he turned back to the glass, the reflection still showed her, standing closer. He quit the next morning. The hotel's history is checkered. In the 1930s, it operated as a high-end brothel for the wealthy miners. One of the workers, Margot, was said to have fallen in love with a married tycoon. When he left her for good, she vanished, just 1 word. Her body was never found, but her room stayed locked for years, sealed by the madam who swore she still heard crying behind the door. To this day, women claim to feel watched in the upstairs restrooms. Some report lipstick writing on the mirrors that fades before staff can clean it. Liar. So if you visit the Exchange Hotel, be careful what you see in the mirror, and never break a promise. 9. The Federal Hotel, Collie. At first glance, the Federal Hotel is just another aging country pub, creaky floors, dim lights, friendly staff. But ask the locals and they'll tell you, don't stay in room 12. Years ago, a guest, a quiet man passing through town, checked into that room and was never seen again. His belongings were untouched, bed made, wallet still on the table. Just gone. Since then, strange things have plagued room 12. Guests complain of violent dreams. Others wake with deep scratches on their back as if clawed. One woman said she heard whispering beneath the bed, not one voice, but several, all speaking at once in a language she couldn't understand, not to haunt. A cleaner once quit after opening the wardrobe and finding all the hangers swinging wildly, though the room was sealed, windows shut. Then came the mirror incident. A tourist taking selfies in the bathroom captured something she didn't see with her eyes, a pale face peering from behind the shower curtain, its mouth wide open, as if screaming. She fainted and had to be helped downstairs. Staff reviewed the footage. The camera showed her alone, but the image? Still on her phone. Some believe room 12 is a trap, a thin spot where something from the other side reaches through to replace. So if you ever hear tapping under your bed at night, don't look. It might be trying to trade places. 10. Northam Railway Hotel, Northam. The Northam Railway Hotel has stood since the steam train days, a resting stop for travelers, miners, and souls that never moved on. Room 3 is the oldest in the building and the coldest. Even in the middle of summer, guests report waking up shivering, sheets damp, breath visible in the air. But that's not the worst of it. A man once stayed overnight during a regional cycling trip. At 2:47 a.m., he called reception, whispering, "Someone's dragging a suitcase back and forth outside my door." But when staff checked, the hallway was empty. No footsteps, no suitcase. Only long dark carpet and a faint trail of muddy water. He left before sunrise, never returned, and left the room key on the floor inside the locked room. The legend? A woman in the 1920s who waited at the hotel each week for her husband to return by train. One stormy night, the train derailed. His body was never recovered. She continued waiting for years, her bag always packed, her shoes always wet, until one day she vanished, just like the train that never came. To this day, guests report hearing the soft rumble of wheels along the hallway. Some see a shadow pass their door, dragging something behind. And if you ever wake up to knocking at your door after midnight, don't open it. She's not looking for help. She's looking for a room to stay. So, which hotel would you stay in if you had to? Or better yet, which one would you never enter, even in daylight? Let us know in the comments. And remember, some guests check in, but never check out.